Hey guys, my name is Cicabeot1, and 2017 had a lot of good music.
I feel like I say this about every year, but yeah, 2017 was pretty great for music, despite trends I wasn't a fan of. It's not even because it was a massive turn after 2016, because I didn't mind that year's music either, but yeah, I like a lot of what this year had to offer because there was a lot going on. There was trap, yes, but there were also some huge and interesting Latin hits, a return to prominence for country, odd comebacks, and just a lot of good surprises.
And I'm here to talk about some of them. These are...
Tell me what you really like. Baby, I can take my time.
The top 10 best hit songs of 2017. Number 10.
I'm gonna start this list off with a song that nobody likes. I'm not sorry for it either.
Baby, I'm sorry.
Wait, hold. That's not what I meant.
Just a young gun with a quick fuse.
Yep, that's the one. Again, not sorry.
I was lightning before the thunder.
I expected that this year I'm gonna see Believer on a bunch of worst lists, and I get it. I get why that song is hated. It didn't exactly click with me either the first couple of times before I started loving it.
But can I say that I legitimately don't understand why Thunder has a similar reputation?
I wouldn't expect people to find this best list worthy other than me, but like... what exactly is the offending element here? The weird backing vocals? The bass-heavy verses? I just don't get it. And sure, Dan Reynolds' vocal performance on this isn't as impressive as on Believer or even a good chunk of Evolve, but it doesn't need to be.
If anything, this is a testament to the versatility of Imagine Dragons and why they are appealing to me specifically.
The thump of the bass on the verses is bouncy and fun, giving off a playful atmosphere right off the bat, followed by a mix of transcendent keys, light guitar, and some downright mesmerizing pitch-shifted vocals. It all builds on the bounce and fun of the beginning and makes it even more powerful, similar to actual Thunder itself. My favorite bits in this song are the pounding of the drums after the first line of thunders on the chorus. They're punchy and effective, and are very dabbable.
Thunder, feel the thunder.
And I've heard people say that the writing is generic, and I kind of agree. But I've always felt that they were at least meaningful to Dan as a metaphor for his success. He didn't think it was capable of taking the world by storm, and yet he kinda did that. In fact, he did it twice, essentially. In 2013, when Radioactive dominated the radio, and again in 2017, when Believer and This dominated commercials.
I don't care that commercials help this song get popular, shut up.
If a song happens to fit a commercial well, so be it. That's all I'll say about that. This may be another song about achieving success against all odds, but it still manages to feel satisfying and unique.
By the way, the guitar in the outro is great.
It's the perfect climax to a song that's both fun and powerful. Not quite my favorite from Evolve, but still something I enjoy quite a bit.
I can see it in your eyes, 'cause they never tell me.
Number 9!
Body like a back road, driving with
One of the few good things Body Like a Back Road did this year is open the doors for country songs to have more staying power on the Hot 100. Even if I don't like every country hit this year, it's nice to see that it's finally getting some more representation on the Hot 100.
And as I stated in my country ranked video, I've been getting more and more interested into country music, even if this hasn't been one of the genre's better years. But here in 2017, for only the second or third time, there is a country song on my best list.
I can't count the times I almost said what's on my mind.
A legitimate country song hit the top 20 in 2017, and it feels so good.
Baby, I know that you've been wondering.
At first glance, I didn't think much of this song. Brett Young seemed sincere and heartfelt, sure, and it sounded nice, but it didn't exactly strike me as memorable or very interesting. But as it stuck around and grew, it stuck with me a lot better than I expected it to.
In case you didn't know.
This song is fragile by design, which allows it to make the most out of Young's slightly crackly voice. He puts himself into kind of a submissive position on this song, admitting that he feels more capable of taking over the world when he's with the girl he loves.
And what about this works where the sentiment can easily come off as cheesy? Well, some smart presentation and writing.
The title phrase, "in case you didn't know," is one that's used throughout the song to give off the impression that the relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. There's moments when he feels he doesn't put his all into the relationship and gets nervous to say what's on his mind. So that phrase is a way to assure the girl that, yes, this is what I think about you. Though I don't always show it and I don't always say it, I love you. That gives it a much more personal and touching connection than, say, One Call Away.
And as far as country ballads go, this is drop dead gorgeous.
banjo licks are light and touching, and the way the electric guitar curls around them on the chorus just melts my heart. And in general, there's just fantastic mixing all around in this. It's sweet and a little desperate without coming off as overdramatic. Instead, it's incredibly romantic.
Take this in contrast with, say, For You by Picture This, and...
Cause these streets are yours, I walk them for you.
By the way, this is one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my life. You've probably never heard of it, but it's a dumpster fire. Red, on the other hand, did something beautiful and touching, which makes his follow-up Like I Loved You even more of a disappointment, because I know how good and sincere this guy can be. Oh well. At least this was big. Country big, but still big.
You've been scared of love and what it did.
Number 8.
So, after that heartwarming display, what's next on our list of what will surely be remembered as the most comprehensive list of the best hits of the year?
Drink. Swalla-la-la.
This does not feel right at all.
Freaky, freaky, yeah.
I'm not ashamed for liking this song. I don't think there are a lot of songs I actually am ashamed for liking, but I feel like I have every reason to be ashamed for liking this. I mean, it's a Jason Derulo song, for one. It's stupid, and it compares sex to candy. It has a chorus that repeats syllables ad nauseum. If this was made in 2014, I'm sure this could be so bad that it would have had a similar legacy to Wiggle.
And yet in 2017, this song is a genius work of art. And I can't believe that I'm saying that about Jason friggin' Derulo.
But ignoring that, I think what works best in this song's favor is just how tight and fun it is. The bass line is quick and energetic, the percussion is poppy, and the synths are the audio equivalent of a sugar rush. And all of these positive qualities are able to distract me from how cheap sounding the individual elements are.
Plus it helps distract me from some of the other less savory elements of the song.
All you girls in here, if you're feeling thirsty.
Is this song over the top and kind of disgusting? Of course. But while, say, Some Cut doesn't offer me any relief from that, Swallow does because, well, just sounds awesome. Plus, Jason on this song is just the right amount of sleazy and charismatic to make it work.
Again, I can't believe I'm saying this about Jason Derulo, but I guess that's the world we just live in now.
Shimmy, 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 yeah, shimmy, yeah.
Fidelisani, on the other hand, while he's not a hindrance for the song, he kind of pales in comparison to Derulo. In general, Ty works as a bonus to a song than as a main performer or even as a main featured guest. Sucker for Payne? Yeah, he's there, but you remember Logic and Wayne's verse is way more than his. Work From Home? Easily the best part of the song, but not exactly a necessary part anyway.
Nikki, on the other hand... I don't get you, Nikki. You have the ability to bring both your F game and your A game in the same year.
Another good year. We don't get blimps for that.
I love this part in particular, with the rhyme scheme leading to some particularly clever lines. It's almost Eminem-esque in a way. Did she just forget how to do this on Rake It Up?
Bless her heart, she throwing shots, but every line sucks.
That single line was way more fire than anything she was saying on No Frauds, I swear to God.
Sure, Nikki's verse doesn't really have anything to do with the rest of the song, but considering how weird the topic is, that's probably a good thing. Besides, she absolutely steals the show here.
Best Derulo song since Cheyenne. I'm so glad this became a hit, even though at this point this could easily be his last. I hope it's not.
Freaky, freaky, yeah.
Derulo.
Number 7.
Oh, hey, look at that. It's time to be predictable again.
Yeah, it's Uptown Funk all over again, yada yada yada, but I don't care. I mean, would you blame Bruno for trying to remake one of the biggest and best hits of his career? I certainly don't. Besides, this song isn't a complete retread of Uptown Funk. There's more focus on synths and ad-libs this time around, a bit more 80s compared to the 70s feel of Uptown Funk.
And somehow Bruno gets even more in your face than he was on Uptown Funk.
Spend your money like money ain't shit.
There's even more style this time around, more flexing, and more fun in general. And it's all there to make you feel good. When Bruno flexes like this, I don't get the impression he's trying to make you feel bad. I mean, it's more escapism than it is luxury porn.
Oh, to be fair, a good chunk of this is still luxury porn.
Wearing Cuban links, designer mix, Inglewood's finest shoes.
I love pretty much everything about this. The talk box bit in the opening, the sparkle on the synths, the ad-libs, this line.
Got to blame it on Jesus. Hashtag blessed.
He's just so awesome that he's able to say these things with a straight face and make it sound cool. Nobody should have this power, right? Am I right?
I feel like this kind of speaks for itself. It's friggin' 24 karat magic and it's awesome. Sure, the follow-up single That's What I Like was much bigger than this somehow, but the title track for this album simply cannot be topped.
Well, except by...
This is the sexiest sex song of all time and I'm willing to die on this hill. I wanted this to be a hit so badly and it just wasn't. Still, 24 Karat Magic, the song rocks. Enough said.
You are not the single type, so baby, this the perfect.
Number 6!
I plan to do an in-depth review of the album that this song comes on sometime next year. I have a lot to say about this song, and I want to get it all out there in a video that I otherwise wouldn't really make. In the meantime, though, let's continue down as we explore the personal struggles that I face as a Chainsmokers stan.
We were staying in Paris to get away from your parents.
Okay, I'm exaggerating a lot when I say that I struggle being a fan of these guys, but who cares, let's just nerd out.
Paris is a lead-off single that is a pretty good representation of what you'll be getting into if you take the plunge that is Memories Do Not Open. That is, compared to their then-recent EPs, less emphasis on a female lead, more focus on Andrew Taggart's world and personality. And whether that's a good thing or not is up to you.
I'll get into that more when I review the album, but this as a standalone piece is just stunning to me.
In a way, you could consider this Closer light. Narrative about a meeting with a girl that isn't as perfect as he would like it to be, and it's probably all his fault. But there's no real drop this time around, not to mention no real female co-star outside of the backing vocals Emily Warren provides. And while I love Closer, I think these two have different strengths. Paris is calmer overall and takes its time getting to the climax of let's show them we are betters. And because of that, I consider it a more coherent piece, less restricted by the basic formula of modern EDM. Drew and Alex are guilty of that formula for sure, and though it doesn't bother me, it's nice to hear them mix it up from time to time. Throughout 2016, the Chainsmokers were an EDM duo through and through, but after Closer, they became fully fledged pop stars. At least for that moment. And Paris might as well be their first steps with this new identity.
And the fact that Taggart's essentially singing by himself on this brings that fact to the forefront.
Here we go down, then we go down together.
I know a lot of people really hate Taggart's voice, but I really like it. It's raspy for sure, but that often works with the stories he tells. He's an asshole, he cheats on his partner, he blames his problems on unrelated things, but he purposely presents this as confessional. He's not the good guy. He's just honest. More than that, I just find it aesthetically pleasing, like more than it should be, and I'm not sure I could really explain why. It somehow makes Paris even more beautiful than it already is for me, which I'm pretty sure is breaking the laws of physics or something, but it's just how music and opinions work sometimes.
Man, I'm just really excited to review this album, probably to the disgust of many of my friends and fans. This is the life I chose.
You don't need a lonely night, so baby I can make it right.
Number 5.
I bow down.
Lady Gaga. Hits taken from us too soon in 2017. I've already talked about the decline in relevance for Lady Gaga and for Katy Perry, but I think most people forget that there was almost a third huge pop star from the early 2010s who struggled to make a name for herself this year.
And the ironic thing about that is that it's from one of the biggest albums of the past couple of years.
In 2015, I think I overrated Hello. All of us probably did. At the time, it was a huge return for an artist that we hadn't heard from in around 3 years. It's still a good song, and the song Adele needed to make a return on, just not the groundbreaking masterpiece I thought it was. That title instead goes to Water Under the Bridge, a song the radio ate up for a while, and that was it.
And that's a shame, because with the possible exception of River Leah, this is probably my favorite song from 25.
Everything about this song is just insanely rich for me. The liquid smooth guitar line, the subtle percussion, and the same level of vocal charisma that you could expect on any Adele track.
Though to be fair, I could probably have just stopped after liquid smooth guitars to justify why this song is on the list.
Seriously, that is just gorgeous. I know pianos are Adele's instrument of choice, but the guitars here are absolutely transcendent. They carry a melody that I don't think the pianos could have done on their own. It's It's so calming up until the chorus where everything just explodes. 25 is an album about moving on, and of Adele's fear of being forgotten by the one she isn't with anymore. While Hello was the opener where she reintroduces herself to her ex's life, and When We Were Young is when Adele tries to immortalize their past fling, Water Under the Bridge reflects the terror she feels when she thinks of moving on.
This chorus reflects that pretty much perfectly.
In addition to the entire song just giving me images of water flowing down a stream, this song displays Adele's intensity at its absolute best. Probably the most intense she's been since Rolling in the Deep. It's a shame that this was barely a hit and probably mostly due to the radio, but then again, it was released as a single a year after the album first came out.
Maybe if Adele takes another break like she did before, she'll come back strong and maybe even pull another Hello. Who knows? I mean, I'd like to see that happen. Just keep this song in mind when you do eventually return in 2019 or something, Adele, because this is something special.
We don't have to rush when you're alone with me.
Number 4.
In keeping with the theme of songs barely becoming hits, I was really troubled by how quickly this song faded from public memory. I was incredibly worried throughout the year that this would not have a shot at the year end, and lo and behold, it's actually got a pretty good shot. So Harry, here you go.
Just stop your crying, it's a sign of the times.
I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I really like rock. I really do. Classic rock especially. And I'm sure a lot of my friends and fans can relate to at least being raised on the classic rock that their parents listened to.
That's the reason why Harry Styles' self-titled debut was both a surprise and a delight for me.
Harry stated in interviews that he wanted to make an album that he personally wanted to listen to, and I believe it 100%. He wears his passion and influences on his sleeve, especially with his big solo hit being a David Bowie-esque soft rock ballad.
So really, it's kind of a surprise that this hit the top 10 at all. Though I guess that might have been because of the initial shock of, what? A former One Direction member made this? Really?
I can see why someone would find this song boring. It's over 5 minutes and is generally really slow. And yet, for me, it doesn't feel like it drags or overstays its welcome. And that's because it has a true emotional core and sweeping progression. The pianos are solemn and calming, the percussion crashes at the right times, the guitars are admittedly a little on the cheap side, but they still fit in pretty well if you ask me.
We could meet again somewhere.
Harry himself actually displays a lot of dexterity on this song alone. From his light crooning to his pitch-perfect falsetto to his belting in the final moments of the song, the guy's a fantastic presence. Not really in the vein of David Bowie like the rest of the sound, but it still fits in well with what he's going for. As such, he's able to make this style his own, a thing that I'd argue he continues throughout the rest of the album.
Niall's album was also great, so there's that. Next?
I feel it coming. I feel it coming, babe.
Number 3.
New Kung Fu Kenny.
I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA.
2017 was an amazing year for Kendrick Lamar. To Pimp a Butterfly was huge in 2015, but Damn was something else entirely, netting Kenny 3 year-end hits and maybe another in 2018? We'll see.
I hope that Damn cleans up the 2018 Grammys. I mean, now that Taylor Swift can't block him.
DNA is far and above my favorite song from Damn. It shows both Kendrick and even Michael Made It at the top of their games. It's haunted, twisted, and catchy, all without a true chorus. Just bars in which Kendrick lectures the audience on what it's like to be black.
And yet the song itself doesn't even use the N-word once, which is kind of out of the ordinary for the guy.
Yeah, soldier's DNA.
The first half of the song is great enough on its own, giving some insanely memorable lines, my favorite being this.
Problem is, all that sucker shit inside your DNA.
But with the beat switch up halfway through, things get absolutely nuts.
Tell me something, you motherfuckers can't tell me nothing.
Did I mention this was a top 5 hit?
I like to imagine that Kendrick goes into the Avatar state during the second half of this song. He goes absolutely insane, with technically impressive flows and straight up bombastic intensity throughout. But even more impressive than Kendrick is the fact that Michael made the beats around Kendrick's rapping and not the other way around. Like, I can't even imagine, 1, rapping this acapella with no idea of what the beat's gonna sound like later, and 2, having to make a beat around a vocal track that frequently changes up flow.
I don't know how something this twisted and insane pops into your head, and then how you would make that, but kudos. You did a great job.
Could this song be considered encapsulated madness? Well, maybe. They definitely had madness in mind when making this, as a way to open up a heavy album, and this got big despite never being officially released as a single. Sure, it had a video, but still, people loved this song so much they bought it and played it on the radio even though the label wasn't telling them to. And I can see why. Consider me basic for this, but this is probably my favorite Kendrick Lamar song, and I'm glad it stuck around.
Ain't no hole inside my
DNA.
Number 2!
Let's Marvin Gaye and get it on.
In 2017, I feel like the guilty pleasure doesn't exist anymore. At least from what I can tell. With very, very few exceptions, it seems like no one on the internet is afraid to admit when they like a song that's popular to hate on. In 2011, I would feel shame beyond belief if I found myself admitting that I liked a Justin Bieber song, and yet, here we are now with a few songs of his close to making my best lists.
And going on with the Bieber analogy, I feel like if this particular artist was big in the early 10s and then made a song like this, I don't think I would ever want to admit that I loved it to pieces. I am looking forward to Charlie Puth's upcoming album. Those are words that just left my mouth and that I meant with complete sincerity.
9-Track Mind was an unmitigated disaster. That's pretty common knowledge at this point. I regularly have to hear 2 deep cuts from that album at work, and I still to this day hate hearing them.
And yet, here the guy is, a year later and towards the top of my best list. How did we get to this point? Well, I think I'll let him explain it for me.
I'm gonna get as many fucking fans as I can, and I'm gonna get their mothers to like the music too, and now we're on the this is about me music. This is what I wanted to say for a long time.
Oh, I get it. He was making bad music on purpose to gain a following. That makes sense. Except it doesn't. But I kinda get it. 2017 just doesn't make any sense, alright?
You just want attention. You don't want my heart.
I'm sure you're gonna think that I only like this song because of the bass line, and you have a point. That bass line is insanely awesome, and the first time I heard this song, it was what grabbed my attention the most.
And then I noticed everything else.
Sharp guitar work, the punchy drum machines, the moody synths, and Charlie Puth actually sounding tolerable for once. What really helps is that his voice has gotten a little more presence since last year. He's clearly trying harder than just using a weak falsetto the entire time, and even the points where his voice is kinda weak are backed up by strong, bass-heavy production. Even the bridge that's pretty much just plucked guitars and vocals is used to build up tension, and it sounds awesome as hell.
But of course, I have to explain the elephant in the room. The lyrics.
You've been running around, throwing that dirt all on my name.
This song is pissy. Almost insufferably so. And yet, I find it hard to care. Puth's openly admitting that he's giving the girl the attention she so desperately seeks, sounding distraught that he's perpetuating it.
You already know that you won.
But I think the biggest reason that I can forgive this is that it's contrary to pretty much everything the guy was doing on 9-Track Mind. Gone is his frail display of masculinity, and in its place, an angry side of Charlie Puth that I believe way more. It's a more emotionally complex Puth, but more importantly, it just sounds awesome.
Between this and How Long, I am pretty excited for voice notes in 2018. Though, be sure to check me on my Twitter to make sure that I don't become a stan of this guy. Just snap me out of it, okay? And because arbitrary reasons, more things. Please do the thing.
I've defended Shape of You pretty much this entire year, but yeah, Castle on the Hill was always better. It makes me feel like a stupid kid again.
Partially because I'm still a stupid kid. What am I doing?
I get those goosebumps every time. I need the Heimlich.
I may not like Travis Scott, but geez, this is just insane and fun. I was ecstatic to see this defy the recurring role and become a hit. Yeah, this is actually pretty good. The writing's still not great, but that beat is incredible, and I will hear no words to the contrary.
My left stroke just went viral.
You know what would make the song better? If it was about pants. Specifically on your head.
While we're young, dumb, and broke.
Khalid is easily my favorite new artist of this year. There's a certain moodiness to his music that's laid back and euphoric. So glad he didn't fade away after Location. To be clear, the spot is for the original version of the song and not the Bieber remix. It did help the song get big in America, but it is a markedly worse product.
So, no mention for you, Bieber. You insensitive prick.
Despacito. I don't know the words, so I say poquito.
In the middle of the party, biscuit off me.
I don't normally make repeats on the year-end eligible for my list, but I'm making a special exception here because I really regret putting this in the dishonorable mentions last year and wanted to make amends for this year. So here you go. You can stop commenting on that video calling me an idiot for not liking this song. I pray this is a sign of things to come for Mendes and that he doesn't default into more treat you betters. I don't think the world could handle that happening again. I get that a lot of my fans don't really like this song, but I love this song, right? These guys get too much flack if I'm honest. It's actually could have made the list proper if it wasn't for Young Thug.
Just graduated fresh on campus.
I swear, I've been understanding his appeal more and more lately, but he just does not fit here. He grinds the momentum of this song to a screeching halt.
Everything else is great, though. Kudos to you, Caramel Carburetor. Caramella Catapulta. Carbureto Cabaretu. Camilla...
Quite possibly the trippiest song of the year, and it came from the guy who did only half the chorus of All the Way Up. Life is weird sometimes. All hail our goat overlords.
Darling, you were perfect.
Saving it for 2018.
Might have a little dirt on my boots, but I'm taking you uptown.
I feel like I should hate this for being kinda sleazy, but John Party's smart enough to keep himself likable in this. Plus it just sounds awesome. So yeah. And now, number 1. I feel like I have a reputation for picking emotional songs for the top spot of my lists, and I can be a little predictable because of that. But the number 1 song of a year for me doesn't need to be the one that moves me the most, or changes me the most, or disturbs me the most.
Sometimes it can just be an unexpected treat that keeps me coming back for more. And this song in particular is a song by several artists that I never thought that I would ever be praising in this sort of way. So, here you go. I still can't believe that this exists.
Of all the surprises from this year, I think it's safe to say that this was the biggest. You have Calvin Harris, a man who makes what you would normally expect from EDM, making a funk album with a star-studded cast of guest vocalists. Slide was our first taste of what was to come, and I still loved it like I did when I first heard it back in the spring.
That groove is just amazing. How did this come from the same guy who made My Way last year?
Whatever comes too clear.
The pianos are rich, the bass is rollicking, the synth loop is smooth, and the guitars are tropical without biting too hard from recent trends. It's all very authentic and all around fantastic. Again, not really something that often crosses over. And I could tell Harris was taking a risk making this. He didn't peak as high as he had in previous years, especially last year with This Is What You Came For, but I think it was overall worth it that we got more stuff like this and less like My Way.
And yet, he's not the only one who brings his A game on this.
Put some spotlight on the side.
I've heard a few Frank Ocean tracks before, but I've never gotten myself to return to the guy's work regularly. Listening to him on this song, though, I think it's kinda clear where Khalid got some of his influences from. His voice is moody and textured, which may be a little off-putting for a song that sounds so happy and funky, but it doesn't take long for his performance to just melt in with the beats. And that includes the sections where he's pitched up. Plus, the auto-tune on his voice makes this absolutely euphoric.
What about Quavo and Offset? surprisingly, I think their verses are really enjoyable on this.
I think Quavo works much better in a song when he ditches the idea of him being a thug. For example, see his verse on I'm the One. Here, he's just talking about blazing it up with his girl, and his autotune is pretty much perfectly layered.
Though it pales in comparison to Offset, whose verse is just a delight to listen to.
Offset is much more believable as a danger, if Without Warning is any indication, but he still rides this incredibly well. He delivers some intricate flows that bust out of his triplet flow comfort zone, and it's just really charming through and through. He's got charisma, oddly enough, and I enjoy this way more than any actual Migos song I've heard. This is the first song that comes to mind when I think of an unexpected surprise. It's unexpected to hear any of these artists making music like this. It's unexpected for me to find Migos charming and interesting. It's unexpected to find some legitimately great funk in 2017 that isn't just Bruno Mars. I've listened to this so many times, and that just feels crazy to me. It's number one because, well, it just makes me feel unbelievably happy. And sometimes, that's all you really need.
I'm Cicabeot1, also known as Amber, now, and take care.
Hey guys, thanks for watching my best list. Please subscribe if you haven't already, check out the worst list or my Earthbound Let's Play. I also plan on doing a rating of the 2017 year end sometime in January, so be on the lookout for that. And bye!